So welcome everybody to our November koha-US web dev meeting. What cool things have we been doing? Or what questions do we have? Or what issues? This is
I'm keeping Lucas pretty busy with 2205 things. It seems like, customizations that we had that then don't work in 2205.
Which is worth mentioning. The ticket we were working on yesterday, in 2205, we're getting rid of jQuery UI because that's a deprecated library. It's not being updated anymore. There are security concerns. So I've seen a fair number of tickets, including one from Barbara on the OPEC, where folks are leveraging jQuery UI for customizations. In Barbara's case, it was a draggable function, which lets you like very easily say, make this element draggable, and then you can drag it around the page. Autocomplete is another one. Slider. So some people have like date sliders where you slide two dates to two and, a to date and a from date. None of that stuff's going to work anymore in 2205. So as tickets come in, I've been scrambling to come up with alternatives to that. I could just like git script call jQuery UI, but I don't want to do that since that we're removing it for a pretty good reason. So and some of those things aren't simple to write out the new just plain jQuery for. I think we have the draggable thing not quite working, but we will, Barbara. Autocomplete's going to be a pretty difficult one, and those are just some examples, but things to look out for. So if you have those kind of customizations where you're relying on jQuery UI, it's probably going to break on your upgrade. So that's not a cool, fun thing at all, but worth mentioning, I think.
Good to know. Good information to have.
Yeah.
I went through the release notes and I made a spreadsheet of all the things that I don't need jQuery for anymore, but I'm struggling finding that spreadsheet. I know one of them was adding the author to the holds placement page because I've got jQuery there. So it's like duplicating right now. And there were some other things that were taken care of. And I'm not going to complain about my Google Drives, but they're a mess right now. So I'll get to that. I'll find it.
What version are you on, Michael?
We are still on 2111. Haven't upgraded yet. The test server is upgraded, but I haven't had a chance to go in and test around yet. I finally read through all the release notes yesterday and was marking stuff to look at more closely, but it's been crazy busy. So
yeah.
I really am interested in kind of just learning more about development and all of that. And so that's kind of why I'm here. But there's a lot that's kind of going over my head. I know some basic jQuery and HTML and stuff like that, but I'm kind of mostly here to learn.
Cool. Do you have any specific questions about development of Koha or the process, or just trying to learn?
At this point, just here to learn. I've got some apps and stuff that I'm trying to learn HTML, and that's only if I have time. So yeah, that hasn't been happening lately, but
Are you Aspen on the OPAC side?
Yes.
That's what I thought. Okay.
Yeah. And I'd really like to dive more into that too, but that's for next year.
Yeah. So Barbara, you're on 2205 in your production environment now.
Mhm.
And does anybody have 2205 things that they're either like excited about or concerned about? In the web development realm?
Let's see.
Well, I think one of the things we were truly excited about was on the staff side, because we use synthetics for cover images. Those can now be seen on the staff side. And so even though the Amazon images are clearer, the synthetics images allow me to bring over get the covers for DVDs and things like playaways or launch pads. So some of that other content that Amazon doesn't normally have an image for. And then I had to work with the synthetics image because it was either coming over smaller than I wanted it to, or if it was larger, it was too fuzzy. So then I had to do some stuff to make it look, nicer. But since the staff are using, the staff interface, it's nice for them to be able to see DVD images and all of that, and not just a big old blank.
When you say make it nicer, did you use jQuery to edit the source to like a larger image?
Yeah.
Okay.
Somewhere along the line, I got some code from somewhere to do that with the Amazon images on the OPAC. And so I'm able to take that and sort of look at it and try and, figure out, okay, how do I modify this? And that's how I usually do my jQuery. It's not that I understand it from the get-go. It's that I have to look at something and say, okay, that sort of starts to make sense. I need to go find what that, div is or whatever. And then because we've got the test server, then I just stick it there and keep plugging away at it until it's like, look, that worked. So
I wonder if that should just be a setting in Koha. I know that some of the cover image services have like do you want this to display big or small? And you can change it, but it's pretty inconsistent. Seems like we could just do easy system preferences in there, so you don't have to write jQuery and you could just select which size you want. I know that. Did you say synthetics, right? Not Baker. Yeah, synthetics.
Yes.
I don't think it has. Yeah, could use that. It'd be pretty trivial, I think. It's basically just doing your jQuery inside of Koha.
Yeah.
So I found my list. So those are 4 bugs that I've currently got jQuery in that I can take out now. The top one, item level hold, should assume the same pickup location. George gave me a little bit of jQuery that fills that in. So I can take that out. If the branch is mandatory on self-registration, it should be empty. I had to put that jQuery in because my first alphabetical library was getting tons of self-registration requests. So I can take that one out. The system preference to disable the auto renew checkbox. So that one I had to hide that because I have one library that's testing auto renew, but the rest of them shouldn't be able to see that. And then the remote image from authorized values so I've got those little OPAC toggles on the collection code, which I could possibly replace with remote images, but I don't know if I'm gonna do that or not. And then one of the things that's sort of WebW exciting for me in the upgrade is the way that notices are working now on the patron page. So like it's got the modal pop-ups for when you click a sent notice. I like that way better than the old sort of accordion collapse thing.
Yes, that
Oh,
is
yeah.
really nice for viewing.
So it actually has a window that pops out with the notice instead of doing it right in the table.
Yes. And then if it's like, if it had a resend link before, then it'll have that button. And if it didn't, then it has a close button. So it's a lot easier to see what it actually looked like when the patron got it.
Oh, so that's in the patrons notice tab?
Yeah, the patron notices.
Mhm.
Okay.
Specifically on their, from their accounts. I can show you. Pictures versus words, right? So on this page for the patron, you can click it. And so you can see this one's just got a close button because they're all pending because it's my test server. But if they'd been sent like before, it would have the, when you uncollapse it, you could resend it. So it'll have an extra button that says resend here if you need to do that.
Okay.
In that screen, Jason, one of those notices said unable to find address of borrower or something as a reason. But
Very no.
those were print notices. I was just wondering, I guess I hadn't seen that before.
No, the one that's marked with that one is an email that failed. And so it's giving that as the reason why it failed. And the account doesn't have an email address on it. So that would be my guess. I've never seen that either.
So the account does have an email?
It does not.
Does not.
The email
So-
field is empty.
Okay. Because we still struggle with people saying, you know, no, I'm not getting notices and I don't know. But we're planning on, at some point, we're planning on trying the Twilio. Just haven't gotten to it yet.
Yeah, we tested Twilio a little bit. I think we're gonna like permanently back burner it for a while until we actually have to deploy it because it's not super consortium friendly and like
Okay.
we're losing functionality because right now if a patron replies back, it sends an email back to the library. Whereas with Twilio, if we have one number for the consortium, all those texts would be coming into one place, and then we would have to like figure out
Right.
if we wanted to provide that service still. Otherwise, we would have to be like, we can't reply anymore. So
Right.
at this point, we're just sticking with the subpar email text messages because I know a lot of people don't even get them. They bounce a lot.
Yeah.
But maybe in the future we'll come up with a.
Jason, did you set up the reply address? Is that something special you did, or is that configurable in?
So if you're using email to text messaging, I think as long as you've got the library email set up in the library's administration, whenever the patron replies back, because it sends from there. So whenever the patron replies back, it sends back to that. Now, there's problems with that too, because there's no subject and there's no distinct subject, I think. So you have to go like take the number, search for it in a report, because this is all like convoluted things that I've worked around. So like I set up a little, I can show you that too, search box. So when the patron, oh, it's not on my test server. Interesting. Let me go to the live server. So I have this little alternate phone number lookup thing because when the patron replies back, all you get is their phone number in an email address string. So you don't know who it's from. And if you just search for phone numbers in the patron search, it doesn't include the texting number field, so then they don't come up. So I have this set up. So it'll show you all the accounts where the phone number is in any phone number field, which is a bug that I need to file, which may be filed, but I don't know. So that's some, yeah, I got off on a tangent there. Did that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay. And one thing that I wanted to try was adding, so I know you can add template toolkit stuff in the subjects of some notices. So I wonder if I could add the borrower number in the subject. So when they replied back, I would at least have the borrower number or the card number up there. But I don't think, for some reason, I'm thinking that doesn't come through when they reply. And I hate notices and messaging because it's hard to test these things. Like, I just wanted to sit down and test it, I would have to create a test scenario and wait for it to process and that sort of thing. So that's on my problem list too.
I think it may sometimes be carrier dependent too, right? On like what can come through from the subject line and what can't.
Right, because it's converting it to a
test.
text and they're replying it back as a text. So I don't know that the subject gets carried through.
Yeah, and that can be like almost impossible to test until you have a patron with a certain carrier and find the problem.
It's all very frustrating, and I hope that someday we can just have push notifications for Koha. Like, I don't know how to make that happen either, but that would be a much cleaner solution than what we're doing with emails, I think. But I mean, I know you can push notifications via web apps, maybe. Generally, you have to have like an app.
Yeah, generally you'd want a real app.
And maintaining an app is a whole other beast.
It's a whole other beast, yeah.
So the pipe dream. Now Aspen can do some of that already, right, Michael? Like
somewhat. I haven't tested the app extensively. I've tested it some, and it seems like it's still fairly limited as far as the functionality goes. I tend to prefer the mobile web interface over the app still. So I don't really plan to push it out to our libraries anytime soon. I don't want them to start using something that's only half the functionality of what's on the web. So I haven't explored that much. I think it is possible, but
yeah, and I talked with Jordan and Mark when I was in California, and they said that they hadn't gotten like Koha notices hooked up to it yet, but they're working on that. Like, so like the circ notices and stuff can't get pushed yet. But if
it's still fairly new. I think it's only been sometime. It was sometime this year that they started pushing that out. So I think within a year or so, it may be really, really good. But
what else do we want to talk about today? I guess I did put in a couple of things. So I've been trying to be better about putting in bugs when I do something. So this one is highlighting the logged in library on the add edit item screen. And I put my jQuery in the ticket. And what that one does is go back to my server so I don't expose too much. So when you go into the edit items screen specifically, I do this every time. So this is when I was showing it off to my people. Nothing's changed here because Iola doesn't own any of these books. So I have to find an Iola book because I'm logged in as Iola. So if I filter to that, now it's highlighting the home library. So the library can easily just click it and make sure they're editing their item and not someone else's item, which is a problem we've had in the past. And that's just using the same highlight class that that they added for patron searching. So when you search for patrons, it'll highlight the home library if it matches your logged in library.
And that's only affecting the add item.
Yeah, this
Screen.
piece just does it on this page. But I've had requests to do it other places, which I think I want to do it in like the fines area for sure, because we have situations where like the fine was accrued at another library, but I might actually flip it so that it's like, if it's not your fine, it's red instead of green or something like that. The worst part of this one was like the column index, figuring out how to make sure that it was always hitting the right column no matter what. But I think I worked that out. I think it works. And then the other one bug that I put some jQuery on was this one, which has to do with club holds. So this little club holds tab will show for everybody, no matter what. And I had a situation where a librarian was in this box instead of this box trying to place holds, and she ended up putting like 100 holds on a DVD. So I wrote some jQuery to hide that. It's basically like a fake permission. So I created an array of people that are allowed to see it and then hid it for everybody else. And that's what I put in that comment on there. But it really should probably be a separate permission just because it can do so much damage. So I made those comments on those bugs. And then I have a whole list of other stuff I want to work on. So one thing that I had requested at my most recent users group was adding like a count of holds to the holds queue menu item. So like, let me share my screen again. So like when you go to the circulation page, having it say right here how many holds you need to pull, because I have a lot of little libraries that don't get a lot of holds, and they'll click into it and it won't have anything on it, or they've gotten in the habit of not checking it. So if we could make it apparent that there are holds outstanding to pull, then it would save staff time, either by saving clicks or at least making them aware that they need to pull stuff. And then specifically on the holds queue, I've threatened to put like poo emojis or something if they haven't they haven't pulled it, like really old holds. So I started working on that. You can see the hash marks, but I haven't gone very far on that. But basically, like if the holds are really old, I want it to be obnoxious for them so that they do something about it. So
can you put GIFs in there?
I could anything I want. I thought about like stroking the screen, but I don't want to give anybody seizures, you know. Yeah, so those are sort of things on my immediate front of brain list, because that's what we've talked about recently.
How did you, oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, so on that page, you also had a button that you put on there for orphaned holds. Is that just coming from a report that you created?
Yeah, that one just links to a report. And that one's looking for things that get marked missing, and there's only one item available, so the hold can never be filled.
And earlier I noticed you had the local items available, and then under the search page.
Oh yeah, that one is on the wiki, and
Okay.
let me find the link to that. And it's kind of it's not working completely right, because I noticed that it's duplicating some stuff. But Christopher and I worked on that when we updated to 2011, because it did break. There's the jQuery for that. But it is handy. I mean, my people like that it's glaringly obvious that they own a copy or not.
Mm-hmm.
I have a couple questions related to the staff client redesign that I would like to ask some real library users. If you guys want to take a look.
Sure.
Sure.
Can you see that?
Yep.
Mhm.
So a couple things like that I think are gonna, I don't know, maybe be contentious. Number one here is like, so now if I go to tools, you see how this is 2 columns instead of 3, and lots of tools are missing. That's because cataloging now has all of these tools. What do y'all think about that? Curious. Do you like it? Do you hate it?
I like
Do
it because
you not care?
tools is just kind of overwhelming. There's so many things there.
Okay.
And cataloging, there's not much to do there except for do a search. But I can see that a lot of people are gonna have gotten so used to going to certain
Be
places
confused.
that's yeah.
I don't care, but I know some people that will.
What if there were like on tools, if there were a link to go here under the tools page? Like
something here, because you can always go like here, but maybe that's also not very
or like
intuitive.
just a link that says cataloging tools or something, and then
Like
I don't know.
as additional tools, maybe an access file cataloging tools.
Maybe.
That's not a
Yeah.
bad idea.
Just something to like train people to go to the other place. It would not be permanent even.
Yeah, I feel like it's just one of these things that's going to bother people like at first. After a week of working with the new staff client, you're going to be used to it, but
Right.
And yeah, and maybe it's not a big deal if we just make sure to emphasize, because I know there's going to be a lot of my libraries that won't care because they don't use the tools at all.
Right.
They're just going to be the super users who gotten used to it.
I guess I just foresee a lot of questions like, what happened to so-and-so tool? Where's my label maker? And then this is a kind of a silly little thing, but this toolbar, do you see how it looks right now?
Mm-hmm.
As I've been working with this for the last month or so, am completely missing, like, I'm like, my eyes look right over this.
Yeah, the buttons you currently pop out. I mean, they're currently like buttons, and these look like they're blended into the back of the page or something.
Do they need some sort of outline or color?
I don't think an outline would hurt anything there.
Yeah, I think something that makes it look like a, more clickable, obvious thing, because they look like they're just sort of floating there.
Yeah, like I said, my eyes, I'm like, this toolbar is present on a lot of pages in Koha, and I'm missing that button fairly often.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe an outline. Okay. That's it. Those were the two things I had.
I personally think that the font size seems a little small all across, like just looking at the search box but that's just me. But I look like just there in the search box and the search patrons and
Yeah, it's definitely the toolbar up here is going to be something to get used to because of how it is a lot smaller just in general.
Yeah, that'll be something I'm sure we'll make larger locally because.
Yeah, luckily we can just do like a body font size 120% or whatever we like. So, cool.
And that's going to come with 2211.
Yeah, 2211 has really turned into a really pretty huge release. The staff client redesign is going to be in it. This new OAuth stuff's going to be in it. ERM is in it now. It just got pushed like a week ago. I know I'm missing others, but it's a pretty huge release. So pretty feature rich. So some cool stuff to look forward to for y'all in like the spring or summer or whenever that comes.
It's funny because after every single upgrade, I always get at least one email from a librarian that's about why do we always have to upgrade and change things, and even if it's a small one. So I'm sure that'll be a lot. There will be a few more of those, but
yeah, I think there's plenty of librarians that sort of have that mindset, and this one's going to be. I think it's like jarring at first when you first look at it, but as you start to use the new staff interface, it's like it's the same essentially with like a different toolbar on top and some different colors.
Yeah,
I think it's
more modernized.
Yeah, it's definitely an improvement. But I agree, Michael. I'm gonna have some people that are upset. So I'm gonna try and stay ahead of it as much as possible. Like I've already started warning them. It's gonna change. But yeah, I think after a week or two, they'll forget that it ever looked any different.
Mm-hmm.
I know the link for getting to it as the bug progressed, there'd be a sandbox and then that would go down and you couldn't get to it. And then there'd be a new sandbox and whatever. And I finally found a link and I put it on our staff homepage so that I can let them see it. I don't know if it's the absolute most current one.
Now that it's actually in master, if you load a new sandbox, it should pull everything from current master, everything pushed this morning, and you should be looking at current master as it is at that moment that you build that sandbox.
You can also log into other people's sandboxes, like Andrew's sandbox called Stupid Holds, and just leverage that one until he deletes it.
I've seen several clever and funny names from Andrew's sandboxes. Always a joy.
Is there a new link for the sandboxes? Because my previous link for them isn't working. Is that it's sb1.sandboxes.bywatersolutions.com.
It looks like it's just sandbox.bywater.
Okay.
You can also go to the wiki page. Sometimes the Bywater ones go down, but like the PTFS ones are still up or something like that. So if you just want to look at it, you can go to
sandboxes are fairly finicky and seem to be broken a lot. So look at that community wiki page, because it should give you PTFS Europe sandboxes, bib-level sandboxes, and Bywater sandboxes. And if one happens to be broken, often like the others will be working and you're free to use them.
Okay.
Sometimes they're all broken.
I think I'm out of stuff to talk about. Does anybody else have anything?
I was just looking through the release notes. I haven't come across anything that's really worthy of going into at the moment.
This one looks like a fairly small release overall.
Yeah, 2205 is pretty small overall. You're right. The next one will be quite the opposite.
Oh, I know something that I thought about. So one of the things that's getting added in 2205 is the ability to like put in an ISBN in the patron suggestion form, and it'll pull info from Google Books. I would love to see that functionality used to create like a sparse record, I guess. Like if I could put in an ISBN and pull that data into the MARC form, that would make my catalogers really happy, because when they're cataloging, like doing original cataloging, they used to be able to use Amazon for this. There used to be a utility out there where you could go out, put an ISBN, and then it would generate a MARC record, just a bare bones MARC record from the Amazon data. So doing that with the Google Books API would like get me some chocolate or something, even though I'm not the one that made it.
That does sound pretty cool. And probably like some of the functionality is in place. Have you filed a bug or enhancement request, I should say? I don't like to say bug for things like that. It's not a bug.
Not yet. It's on my pile to do.
Yeah.
Oh, and the other thing, my pile, Lucas set up the kids OPAC on our test server for us, the plugin. We're thinking about like digging into that and really customizing it.
Which plugin? I missed the
children's OPAC.
Oh yeah.
So Lucas, if there's stuff that I find, is it best to just send you an email, or
if you find GitHub issues, because that will get emailed to me as a GitHub issue, and then when I have time, if there's multiple GitHub, I can just go to that page, look at issues, and try to address them all at the same time.
Okay. So yeah, I've come across a few things like functionality wise that the main thing is like, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, I forgot if we set that up for your test server?
Yes.
Okay, so it's on 2205. So yeah, definitely if you file issues, I haven't looked at that plugin against 2205.
Okay.
So definitely put those issues in there. If you see them, I'll try to address them, because that's something I need to do with 2205, very eminent.
And
no, we're still on 2111. We're not on 2205 yet. So
your test server.
Our test server is on 2205. You're right.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, you may find issues that are particular to 2205.
Okay.
And is that a plugin that Bywater has to set up? It's not one you can just do.
Bywater has to do a little bit of Apache work on the back end. Not much, but we do for your URL thing, because you're going to use a different URL.
Okay.
Like kids/Bedford.
Yeah.
Bywater.
Because I remember that being brought up at the conference, and it's kind of like, ooh, there's another cool thing, and I need to probably wait, because those are the kind of things that it's like, let's go set that up, and then I'll go down a hole on that, right. Leave all this other stuff undone. So,
but if that's ever something you want to set up,
yeah,
on your test server, while it does require a little Bywater work, it's seriously like 5 minutes. So
okay. Yeah, I may set it up.
And it's pretty cool. I can share my screen.
Yeah.
It's the same thing that Lucas and Jay-Z showed at the conference. So, and then in the settings on the back end, you can limit the different collections and things.
Yeah, once the Apache scoping is done and the URL set, and then you can do the rest of the work from the administration here.
So you can, I've got it limiting to juvenile books, but but you can also do item types and shelf locations. And then it's got just these.
Got its own. So one thing's on the back end we have to do is turn off OPAC user CSS and OPAC user JS so that they're not trying to do stuff on this page. And then you do your own in the plugin there.
And those images, are those built in, or is that what you added, Jason, or how does that work?
This is still out of the box. I haven't made it.
Yeah, those are built in, but you could definitely like change those with your own jQuery or add them or.
Yeah, cute.
Yeah, the functionality thing that I've run into so far is like these aren't using these filters that are set. So like if I click on adventures, I still get adult books.
Oh, really? It doesn't?
Yeah, the search bar does, but those browse buttons don't.
Okay, see, those are not many people use this plugin, and so there are probably many issues that I am unaware of.
Okay.
So definitely just throw those in GitHub, and I will try to get to them.
I will.
Cool.
It's on the pile of things to do.
Cool. Yeah, no hurry, because as soon as you file them, then they're on my file.
Yeah.
Had to remind myself that that's one of the few times where Comic Sans actually is acceptable.
Might still change that. I don't know. I have a lot of like we kind of went out and looked at other kids' OPACs and decided that there aren't any good ones, so we're just gonna kind of
yeah, in trying like research or just looking as I created that plugin, I went looking for other kids OPACs from different ILSs, and there's some of them are really terrible.
Yeah, they're sad. It's like an afterthought, and it's sad. So we want to make this like not just an afterthought for our kids. So but it's already, I mean, it's already better than a lot of the ones that are out there. So
and if you have ideas, like file those as GitHub issues too. If it's not just like a straight issue, like this collection code doesn't work, but you know, like could it be more colorful, or if you have ideas on how to make it like more, I don't know, something kids would like. But I ultimately struggle with like who a kid's OPAC is for. Is it for the parents or is it for the kid?
Right. And we talked about that too. And then you've got different grade levels. So are we going to focus on like the little kids where it's just pictures, or do we want something with some text? And
for 13-year-olds, right? Yeah. That's tough.
So first we have to decide the audience, and then we're going to customize from there. And I think we're probably going to focus on the littler kids, because we want to be able to put this on like iPads in the kids departments where they can just poke pictures and stuff. But yeah,
I think ultimately that's who this is for, either parents or parents of very young children, or those young children themselves. Once you get into the, I don't know, 12-year-old range, it starts to,
they can use the regular,
like, well, just use use the regular one.
But we are excited about the potential for sure.
Yeah.
Cool.
See, I'd forgotten about that from the conference, because I really have to go back and review everything that happened while we were there, because I didn't take it all in at the time.
Well, especially since y'all were putting it on. I mean, a lot of whirlwind.
Yeah, I don't remember what happened that week at all. But yeah, luckily my boss was there the first day, and she saw this and she's like, well, why don't we have this? And then she wanted to know about language pickers. I guess I didn't talk about that either, or like translations and things, like how to get the catalog more equitable, diversity type thing. So I just added like a Google Translate overlay to our OPAC, which
does that work?
Working. Yeah. I just stole this one from Christopher because he's got it on his OPAC. I can show. I mean, it works and it doesn't work. Like, it's better than nothing. So I just put it in the footer here, and you can change the language to whatever, and then it translates everything on the page. It of course doesn't translate searches. Like that's sort of the the thing that doesn't work.
Yeah.
So like, unless the like if Spanish is probably our biggest use case, right? And I can sort of understand it. So like if I do a search for cats, I have to do the search in English to get the cats results, because our records don't have the Spanish word for cats in it, if that makes sense.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think
I
that
don't
has
even,
to happen at the search engine level, probably, if we wanted that to work.
with your, oh yeah, so you pick Spanish on the main page, do a search, and it retains that.
Right, yeah. Because it's just
Okay.
it's hanging on up here on this bar up here.
Okay, cool.
So it does work. And it's better than nothing, which is what we had before. But probably the core improvement would be being able to search in Spanish and get the English results pulled back, translated to Spanish. Because you can see I only get 34 when I search in Spanish, and I get 4,000 when I search in English.
Yeah.
So
to get it back to English, do you have to go back down to the language translate where you started it, or up here and just X out of that?
yeah, so up here you can just click the X. If you don't want to turn it off, yeah, you can just show original, or you can click the X and it'll revert it.
Cool.
Is that, do you know if that code is on the anywhere? Is it on the wiki?
I don't think so. I stole it. I went to his OPAC and stole it from there. I know you have to put it in 2 different places. I had to put part of it in the OPAC user.js and part of it in like a credits.
Yeah, because you had to call an external script or something.
Yeah.
I might go looking at that too. I might have a look at your server and grab that code if you don't mind.
Sure, go for it. Like I said, it's not mine, so I don't think Christopher will care though. I did get like after I implemented it, I got a sort of "what the heck are you doing" Slack message from Liz a few days later, but I think it was unrelated. But because she hasn't told me that it's causing issues since then. But apparently we had some sort of major server slowdown in the same sort of time period of implementing it. So she said she tested it and she couldn't replicate it, like the slowdown, by using the translate tool. So, and at the same time, we were having issues with Clubhold, that Clubhold's issue I mentioned. So there was a lot of stuff going on at once, and I wonder if that was the real cause of the slowdown. Like I used the batch hold deletion for the first time to delete those 100 holds all at once, and I wondered if maybe that was more of the cause. But I guess that's something to be aware of.
Lucas and I on Tuesday, we were working on stuff, and we totally almost crashed my server because we were doing the patron card creator, and it's got that bug about I think it's the wrap text.
Yeah, long text in the patron card creators is like hanging jobs and eventually like killing servers. So that's a pretty bad one if you use patron cards.
We don't, thankfully, I guess.
Yeah, I don't think too many people do, luckily. So
you use it for like your schools, Michael, or are you using it? Like, do you have your public libraries using it?
No, actually, I had never used it before either, but when we had Ellenwood School Community Library join in August, they were asking about that for their classes, and it would be great if it worked.
Ultimately, I'd rather see the label plugin tool developed to allow for not just item batches, but patron batches. So we can just use those layouts and templates there and generate HTML with patron batches and do whatever we want there. Either create cards or mailers or whatever we want to do with patron information in batches.
Yeah. Oh, I did have a question about from the Koha conference. I remember Jesse and Kelly were talking about the plugin, the patron emailer, and Liz said, please do not use that. I don't remember what was, is that, does that cause problems with spam, or is that?
I think what Liz means is like it should be used with caution because of, so it shouldn't be used to just spam your patrons, I don't know, promotional emails. It shouldn't be a replacement for like constant contact. And I think Liz's concern, and I hope I'm not misspeaking, is that if you did that and just spammed your patrons with this event and that event and send to all, she really doesn't want people to send an email to all my patrons all the time. And the reason is because I think that it ultimately like leaves the mail servers vulnerable to be on spam lists. So
Okay.
we can use it like there are certain like notices that Koha doesn't send that we may want to send to certain patrons with certain criteria. It's just the whole like email everybody with this event or this notification, you know.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, I didn't know if there was something wrong with the plugin itself, or if it was more the
I think
consequences.
There's nothing like technically wrong with the plugin or how it works, and we do use it to like, I don't know, send a fourth overdue, some stuff like that, like the Koha doesn't do.
Okay. That makes sense.
All right. Well, I guess if there's nothing else,
We did a good job. We got to an hour mark, pretty much.
Yeah, I guess we'll see will we see everybody next month? I haven't looked.
Yeah,
at the
what's
calendar.
Is it next month gonna fall on holiday?
It looks like it's on the 15th. So
okay, that should
not
be
into the holiday too hard there. So we'll plan on meeting if everybody's cool with that.
Yep, I should be here.
All right. Sounds good. Thanks everybody.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
See y'all.